So welcome everyone to the Boston Office 365 User Group June edition. I'd like to briefly introduce the organizers. My name is Dimitri and I'm a partner at Turn Digital. And along with me we have Bill, who is, actually you have a new job title, Bill, right?
I do. I'm technical engagement lead.
That being said, just to quickly highlight the agenda for today, we're going to have a quick round of updates that have been announced since we last met. We're going to have a very brief sponsor highlight. And then we're going to turn over to our featured speaker, who's with us on the call today. And we're going to have a Q&A, we're going to have a bit of a community chat, see if anyone's hiring, looking for work, that type of thing. And then we'll close it out with upcoming events that are here in the community beyond our user group. We'll have a raffle, and for those that want to stick around, we can grab a social drink somewhere afterwards. That being said, if you didn't have a chance to attend our session last month, Patrick did a phenomenal presentation regarding the insights. The video is available on our YouTube channel now, so definitely check that out if you are interested and weren't able to see it live. So let's talk about some updates since last time. Now, of course, there's hundreds of updates per month. We can't possibly cover all of them and keep everyone awake. So we're going to pick out a few that we think might be relevant to our user base. So the first thing is that there's a new change being rolled out this month to simplify sharing SharePoint and OneDrive. And besides some UI tweaks, they're also adding a few hint messages, such as, are you sure you want to share outside of the organization? And just generally trying to make the interface a little bit less complicated, especially for the less technical user base. Moving forward, there's a new web part coming with Stream, which is the playlist view. So pretty soon you'll be able to have a playlist of web part videos that users can switch between when viewing content on your SharePoint site. A lot of this is tied very closely to the fact that Stream is retiring, which is the main focus of our featured presentation today. Another pretty cool feature coming is zooming controls while viewing a screen share. So we've all been in scenarios where we join a meeting and the person presenting has a 80-inch TV that they're presenting on, and you can't see anything because the text is super tiny. Well, this new feature that's being rolled out next month is actually going to allow you to zoom into the presentation or whatever they're showcasing and be able to move it around to make things a little bit more easier to comprehend. Today, you could do that using the control key and scrolling up, but it's not a very intuitive way of doing it for most people. Another pretty exciting feature is called Windows 365 Boot. So for those unaware, Windows 365 is Microsoft's product that was released about a year ago, where you can have a virtual desktop in Microsoft 365. And unlike Azure Virtual Desktop, where you're paying for the actual virtual machine to be running all the time, with Win 365, you're paying a monthly fee per user, regardless how little or how much they use the machine. So with this new feature, you can now boot directly into your cloud machine from your laptop. So if you think of scenarios where you might have consultants where you don't want to issue them a $2,000 Lenovo, you could buy them a cheap laptop. Then when they sign in, all the work will be done in the cloud. So pretty cool stuff. I think this is the next evolution as we start to look at more of low power devices being more and more common. These next few slides are a few of the announcements that came out of the Microsoft 365 conference last month. Technically, these were before last month's meeting, but I felt we should touch on them. So one of the announcements is a new OneDrive home, where Microsoft is really revamping the UX to make it a bit more user-friendly, and they're also adding a bunch of pretty cool features to it as well. So one feature is that if you click on Shared on the left side, you can see all of the shared content in one view, and you can filter down based on when things were last modified, when it was shared, when it was shared, who shared it, was it with you, by you, filter by different file types. So a pretty nice way to consolidate things that, if you lost that email that said, so-and-so shared a file with you, this is a great way to find what you're looking for. Another very cool feature coming is the people view. And this is where you can browse by people on the left side here in the navigation. And instead of thinking of the content you're looking for, you could think about the person that you were in a meeting with or that presented or shared the file with you. So if we're working on these intro slides, and I know Bill was the one that started the draft, I could search by Bill and then see what Bill and I have worked on recently or that we've shared in a meeting and meeting recordings and that type of thing, as opposed to starting from a content first perspective. Up in here's another view with meetings where you can see everything that you've attended before, including upcoming meetings and all of the related files, meeting recordings, and everything else. Another cool way to get on top of your pre-reads as well as check in afterwards.
Is this team-based, like in Teams?
So this is based in the OneDrive web client at the moment.
Okay.
And typically, features will hit the respective products first, and over time they'll be integrated into Teams as well.
Excellent.
So just a few more slides here. So Microsoft introduced a whole set of Copilot features for SharePoint at the conference. And we'll talk about a few of these features next. So one feature is the ability to go and start creating a new site just by typing in what you're looking to do. Like in this case, they're creating an employee onboarding site and they're attaching a PowerPoint that they use for onboarding during orientation. And Microsoft will go out and actually build out the site for you. Then after they build out the site, you'll have the ability to interact with it using speech to say, change the color or make this more prominent or less prominent. And in doing so, it's going to make site creation a bit easier because although we all know the technical aspect of going and actually adding all the web parts and layouts to the page, having an AI just do it for you makes it look a little bit nicer than you could probably achieve on your first stab at it. So moving forward to the next slide here, let's just replay the video. The other part is that you can also use this to start building out pages. So it's not just for building new sites, but let's say I work in HR and I need to come in here and build a page on a specific topic. I can start typing out what I'm looking for and potentially reference other material that have already been created or drafted or recorded previously. And Microsoft will go ahead and create a bunch of cool stuff for you. And of course, it's a normal SharePoint page, so you have the full edit capabilities that you would have previously had as well. Well, let's say you click into a section and you're not quite happy with how Microsoft wrote it. Using the functionality that you just saw, Microsoft will let you regenerate different ways of explaining what you're looking for until you find one that fits. So also way cooler than just using the thesaurus on replacing a word or two. This lets you keep the same intent but rephrase how you're pronouncing it.
Is this demo really you used it or is from Microsoft?
Everything I'm showing you is public information. This is publicly posted by Microsoft. And these features have been publicly announced to be arriving in preview mode later this year. So moving forward, another feature coming is co-authoring SharePoint pages with your team members. So if you're working with others on drafts of content, especially key announcements, instead of having to save it as a draft and pass the link over, let them edit it and make sure they save it as a draft again. Instead of going through that whole cycle, you can now co-author real time, which is pretty cool. And another feature that's coming are these new video page templates. So this is using the new file viewer web part, including some of the new stream functionality, to have these pre-built versions of having a nice landing place for your stream migration that Karen's going to talk to us about in just a minute here. These are not available yet. I believe these are coming out at the end of next month, but I'm sure Karen might touch on this later. So thanks to Turn Digital for sponsoring our user group, keeping the lights on, paying the pizza bills and the administrative bills of having a business entity. With that being said, we have our featured event where we're going to learn more about using the Microsoft Stream migration tool to move to modern stream, presented by Karen Dretsky. So Karen, over to you.
So hello, everyone. I'm Karen Dretsky. As Dimitri said, I'm excited to be here tonight talking with you. And we are going to talk about using the Microsoft Stream migration tool to move to modern stream. As you can see here, I am a solution architect at Core BTS, and they're a Microsoft partner. And I've been using SharePoint since SharePoint 2003. And I've migrated to the Microsoft 365 space like all of you have. I'm a certified Teams administrator and a Microsoft Service Adoption Specialist. I also have a SharePoint certification from when they used to give those to you. And I'm also a certified Scrum product owner as well. I've been following the Stream product team with their entire, and I see I have company here that just wants to join the party. So I've been working with or watching the Stream product team since they started their migration or their migration tool when they've started to build it. And that's just about 2 years ago now, since it was first announced. And I'm really excited that it's finally out, although I'm not really thrilled with the timeline they've given us for it. So today we're going to cover an overview of the stream migration from Classic Portal to Stream Online using the stream migration tool. And here are the topics that I plan on covering for you. You know, understanding the stream migration environment, how the stream migration tool works, how do you decide what your migration path is, what the order of operations is when you're doing it, and then how to finish it all up. Hopefully some of you are on the way already. If you haven't started yet, that's okay. You've still got time. They were planning a new update to the migration tool, and it was supposed to come out the 1st of June, and it's been postponed. And we're waiting to see if they're going to postpone any of the deadlines that they've given us so far. So I know that you've all been discussing Stream Classic migration for a while because the person who invited me or recommended that I come speak, they heard me speak about the entire migration process and why it was even happening, and said that you'd been discussing that already in your user group. So I'm really happy to hear that. But I'm just going to recap a little bit about where we are today. So the first announcement that no new videos could be uploaded to Stream Classic was for May 15th, which is of course passed. If you're an administrator and you extended this, then you've got till August 15th to allow your users to continue using Stream Classic. And after that, the only person who will be able to do anything come August 16th will be you, the stream administrator. Everyone else is going to be restricted to only using SharePoint for their videos in the future. So come October 15th, no one other than stream administrators will be able to even access the Stream Classic user interface. So for stream administrators, you're only going to be able to migrate files, video files out of Stream. You're not going to be able to upload them or do anything there other than that. 1 year after the original announcement anniversary, which will be next February 15th in 2024, the Stream Classic platform is going to begin being disassembled, and any files left there will be deleted. So although it's not mentioned on the slide here, when the files are migrated, there will be redirects put in place, and those will not expire until February 15th of 2025. Now, due to bugs in the migration tool, it's probably going to take a little longer than expected. The Stream product team is considering whether or not they'll be extending any of these dates for us, since we're already 2 weeks past when they originally thought they were going to be putting out the migration tool upgrade. And I don't think they know how long it's going to take them to fix the bugs that they've run into. So we'll have to wait and see what they say. And we'll just have to keep an eye on that. So the first thing I wanted to cover is what some of the items are on the migration checklist and some of them run in tandem and some of them don't. Now, normally what you want to do is you want to start getting your users using Stream on SharePoint. So basically putting their files into SharePoint instead of using Classic Stream if you haven't done that already. That's the first thing you want to start doing. And then you're going to plan that new Stream portal and what'll it look like? How are videos being displayed now? Are people going to Stream Classic to watch videos, or are your video owners sending them to your intranet and just using the Stream video web part to display them even though they're stored in Stream Classic? Are they a tab in a Teams channel in Teams? Are they stored in Stream and embedded on a non-SharePoint web page? So determine how you want to handle training your video owners on SharePoint based on how you answer those questions. And also think about, do they already manage content in SharePoint, or is SharePoint new to them? And while you're thinking about all of this, you're going to move on to step 3, which is planning that migration. And there you're going to work on running your inventory report, evaluating the Power BI template. And we're going to go into all of these in a little more depth here as I go through my deck. This is kind of to keep me on track. But we have to worry about change management. You have to decide how you're going to migrate. You've got a couple of different migration methods. Microsoft recommends 3. I have a 4th one that I'll throw out there for you as well. You have to think about when are you going to disable your Stream Classic users? You'll be running test migrations, piloting, hopefully with some business critical containers, and we'll talk about what containers are here shortly. And then you're going to do a partial migration in order to migrate everything. And how much you can migrate, we'll talk about all of that too, because I'm going to cover all the little gotchas with this. And you're going to track your migration process via the migration summary report. And then there probably should be one more on here, which is going to be you're going to close out Microsoft Stream Portal and remove everybody's access permanently. So it's, first of all, really critical, I think, for you to have all the resources you need to find the answers to your migration questions and guidance while you're performing all of the necessary tasks. So here are some of the most important links that I use and that I think are very useful for this process. And I will be happy to share my slide deck so that any of you can have access so that you can actually reach out to any of these links in order to look at them. There is a great one that's just all about the stream migration tool. There's the release log related to the migration tool for when they're doing updates and what those involve. Step-by-step instructions on how to do a migration, including how to run all of the reports for it. And then, of course, you need to remember when the retirement date notice is at the end. So let's talk about that stream migration tool, which is going to help you make this transition. So you can access the migration tool from the Stream admin page. You can also access it from the M365 Admin Center or the SharePoint Admin Center. They'll all take you over to the same place. The Stream migration tool is part of the Migration Manager platform. It's used for migrating data into SharePoint and OneDrive, mostly from other resources, as you can see here. If you're migrating in from Box or Google or from your local file or from a local file share server, you can use the Migration Manager. So that means that, of course, a Stream administrator will also need to be a SharePoint administrator for this to work. Or else you're going to have to work with a SharePoint administrator. So videos in Classic Stream are divided into 5 container types. And those you can see here. Of course, we have Microsoft 365 groups, which are the same groups that we use for managing all of the rest of our tenant. Individual users, those are considered individual containers. There is something called stream groups. And if your organization migrated from Office 365 videos to Stream Classic, then you're going to have stream groups. There are company-wide channels that are what they sound like. They're a channel that's owned and it's available to the all company general audience. And then you have orphaned videos. Those videos are those that no longer have an owner in your tenant. And I'm sure all of you can think of reasons why that might be. So I thought I had that on here. All right. So let's take a look at where the migration tool moves your files depending on the type of container the video files are inside of. Microsoft 365 groups already have an existing SharePoint site as part of their infrastructure, and the videos are migrated there. Each user has a OneDrive for Business account already, and that's for personal files. So each individual user is a container because you may have uploaded video files and they're associated with your personal account. So the migration tool would automatically migrate any files that are personally owned by you and they're not part of another container. They would be sent to your OneDrive account. Now, the stream group only shows up for customers that have migrated from Office 365 Video to Stream Classic, like I said previously, and they do not have a designated location to automatically migrate to, so you're going to have to set one for them. Company-wide channel content can be migrated to an existing or a new SharePoint site. Microsoft recommends dividing this content across multiple new or existing sites to avoid reaching the SharePoint permissions quota limit. And that would be because it's going to take all of the company-wide channels of content. And what the tool does, no matter which container it's moving, is it's going to take and it's going to look at what the current permissions are in Stream Classic. It's going to bring those permissions over, and there's not a way to leave them behind with the migration tool. It's just automatically going to bring over all those permissions. So if you're familiar with managing permissions in Stream Classic, you know that You have to go in and you have to set, unless you're picking a group, you have to go in there and you have to individually pick who you're giving access to. So when you do that, you're doing individual permissions on that video file. It's bringing all of those individual permissions over. So even if you're moving those files into a site where you want to set the permissions with SharePoint at the site level, it's already breaking inheritance, and it is taking and it's putting those permissions in there individually on top of it, which are going to override any of your site settings. So that's one of the things on the calls that I frequently hear from people who are used to managing videos in Stream Classic, but they don't manage content or sites in SharePoint, is they don't understand why they bring things over and they don't work the way they expect them to, and that's why. So there have been issues with folks because, you know, permissions get really squirrely when you start breaking permissions at the file level, and that's what it does when it brings them over. Now, the last thing that it does not bring over are those orphaned files. So if you have any of the orphaned files, they're kind of stuck right now in limbo. The upgrade to the migration tool that was supposed to come out at the beginning of this month was going to allow you to group all of the orphan files together and to migrate them into a SharePoint site. But that is currently on hold until they get a couple of bugs figured out. So I'm not sure what we're going to do about that for the moment. All right, so let's look at what the containers actually look like when they do migrate your content. When the tool brings over videos from a Microsoft 365 group and places the files into a team site, this is what the structure is going to look like. It'll have the shared documents library in that site. It will create a stream migrated videos folder. And then if there are channels in that group, it's going to create a channels folder with videos inside of it for each one of the channels. Meeting recordings are going to go down one more level below that. So we have lots of folders. If you're like me, I hate nested folders. I understand the logic behind why they organized it this way, but it makes me crazy. All right, let's look at the next container. If you're migrating files for a user to OneDrive, same kind of a deal. It's going into your OneDrive account. You're going to have a stream migrated videos folder. Inside of there will be any personal videos. If those videos happen to be meeting recordings, because that is a content type in Stream Classic, they will then build out another folder called recordings, and it'll have your videos inside of that. And if anybody has questions, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to stop and answer questions. Now, company-wide channels, those come over with an architecture similar to that of the Microsoft 365 groups. The orphan videos don't have a diagram because of what that means. They're orphans. They don't get to come over yet, and they don't appear in the tool. As you can see here, if you have a lot of company channels, the reason that Microsoft suggests that you break these up and put them into different sites is because if you have too many and it's doing those individual permissions on all of the files, you could potentially run into the permissions limit. I didn't even know there was a permissions limit on a SharePoint library until this came up. And I thought I had that in here, what it is. I believe it's something like 15,000. It's a very high number, but if you have broken permissions that meet the limit, then you're not going to be able to, then you're going to run into problems with having people have the right access to your video file. Let's see here. As the videos are migrated, Microsoft is establishing a redirect for each video. That way, if anybody's bookmarked the video or if you've used an embed web part to share the video, you'll still be able to view the video until February 15th of 2025, at which point that service is going to begin shutting down permanently. So if you've moved the file within the same site it was migrated to, the redirect is supposed to still work. But I think people found that it wasn't working, and that's one of the bugs they're trying to figure out with the new update, because they do want to take and make it so that if you move the file, then the redirect will still be in place. But, ideally, you're no longer going to need to use any of these embed code web parts to share videos. You're going to remove those from the intranet or wherever you've been sharing them. You're also going to take and you're going to be putting your files in. You're going to remove those old Stream web parts that were directed to Stream Classic to pull in your videos. You're going to have your videos. They're going to be in your SharePoint document library. And then you're going to be using SharePoint web parts in order to display them. There is a new Stream video web part that is in development, but we don't have a date yet on the roadmap for when it's going to be coming out. Rumor is it's going to be a couple of months. Originally, they were saying end of the year, but it is a really big deal because lots of us use the Stream web part that goes to Stream Classic. And so they're going to try to give us a way to replace that. But in the meantime, right now, you're not able to use that in order to display it. But the bottom line is, if people are doing redirects, you can't rely on redirects forever anyway. If we're taking and we're updating our web pages, we put our files in our SharePoint site. We're using the file and media viewer web part, which used to be the file viewer web part. Or we're using a hero web part, or we're using a highlighted content web part to display our videos on the page, or even if we're just linking to them in the document library, then there's no reason anybody would need a redirect because they're linking directly to it. And that's one of the things that Microsoft found out before they even started, when they were starting the process, is that for all the files that were stored in Stream Classic, people put the files there, but then what did they do? They just grabbed a link and linked to it, whether they were linking directly or whether they were doing a link using the embed code or they were using the Stream web part. It's not like anybody ever sent people to Stream Classic and said, hey, go to Stream Classic, navigate the user interface, and you can find my group here, or you can find my channel there and go find the videos. Most of us didn't do that. So it really is a case of once you update how you're directing people to get to the video, you don't need the redirects anymore. And then if you want to, because it is a file in a SharePoint site, you want to change the name, you want to move it, it's going to follow all of SharePoint's normal rules, and you won't have to worry. The link will continue to work. Okay, so there are a bunch of gotchas here with using the migration tool. So it's good to have an awareness of this in advance to give you an idea of when you're planning what to expect or how you want to plan your migration. So let's cover some of those here. So company channels and Stream video groups, not M365 groups, are not automatically mapped, as I mentioned earlier. So you're going to need to do this yourself. You're going to want to migrate in batches if you have a lot of files in addition to your initial testing, because there are some limitations in the migration tool, and that will also help with throttling, because if you've ever done any other SharePoint migrations, you'll know Microsoft throttles everything. If your Stream Classic portal has more than 50,000 videos or items in it, or you have more than 40,000 containers, you're going to have some additional challenges. The migration tool will scan your portal, but it stops when it reaches one of those thresholds. So you'll need to address these items by deleting them deleting files after they're migrated, and then the tool will bring in the additional items. Or you're going to need to use the content inventory report that you run to create a mapping file to tell the tool where to migrate in batches until all your files are migrated. Like I mentioned, the migration tool was expected to get a major update on June 1st, but a number of bugs were identified that Microsoft is working on correcting. So here's what the bugs are that they're waiting on. Videos are not being hidden in Stream Classic after they're migrated, and the redirects are not working. They were originally. There were some changes made to the tool, and now they're not. Automatic destination mapping is incorrect for English locale sites and will not be addressed because they have a workaround where you can use a destination mapping script instead. There are issues with the everyone except external users permissions while migrating videos to OneDrive, and in some cases in SharePoint that they're investigating right now. A stream admin's name randomly can appear in the creator or modified column after migration instead of the user, which is in evaluation also. And a block screen record to save videos in Classic when the admin has enabled saving videos to stream on SharePoint is being evaluated. If set, it allows people to upload videos to OneDrive even though uploads are supposed to be disabled. So there's quite a few bugs in there that that they're working on, and we're hoping that by the end of the month they'll get them resolved. But right now I'm not so sure. It's already been 2 weeks, and a couple of these they don't have a timeline for yet. Last but not least, metadata, like the number of views that have been seen on your videos and comments. That kind of metadata is not going to migrate. You can export it. However, it's not going to come over with the migration manager into SharePoint. So you'll have to manage that manually if that's something that your group requires. So let's talk about the options for migration. And there are 3 primary approaches that Microsoft recommends. The 3 different approaches that Microsoft has identified. Well, actually, let's see. I see a chat. Let me open that and see if there's something I need to ask.
Okay, not go by do it. Yeah, so we have one question in the chat.
Yeah, I'll answer that for you, Andrea. The answer is potentially. I understand where you're coming from. The issue that you're going to run into is that you're not going to be able to share things out externally, as in someone's got to have access to your network to be able to see it. Now, if you're talking about being able to share videos with, like you've set up maybe a team in Microsoft Teams, or you've got a SharePoint site that you have external users that you're giving access to, and they're coming and logging into your environment to be able to get to it, whether it's through their tenant or not, if you're using B2B, then they would potentially be able to see them there. If you were talking about, like, for example, I have an organization I work with that is a city, and they have their internal intranet, but they also have a public-facing website that all the internal people have access to, the external people have access to. They have some things that are kind of in between, and they would like to be able to use an embed code to show a video externally. It's not going to work, because in order for videos to be viewed, there has to be authentication available, and it has to be on your network in your or they have to have access to your tenant in order to be able to view the videos. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. All right, cool. All right, so the 3 different approaches that Microsoft has identified for migration of videos are here. The first one is to just pick it all up and migrate it all at once. This use case is usually for organizations who have a small number of users and they've not ever officially deployed Stream Classic to their users. And you can also use this if you're just in a big hurry to get off of it and you just want to get off of it ASAP. The steps in this process begin with training your users on Stream and Stream for SharePoint so that they know how it works. Then it's followed by communicating with those users that the files are being migrated and the uploads are being blocked, because you're going to want to block them so you don't have any new content going up while you're trying to migrate. And then that communication can happen right inside of Stream Classic. So when you need to actually block the uploads and not allow any files to be added to Stream Classic, like I just mentioned, and then if you haven't already done it, you send your users to SharePoint, to Stream on SharePoint start page, the modern Stream start page, and instead of the Stream Classic page where they click on the Stream app icon. You then migrate all the content to either SharePoint, Teams, or OneDrive. You remove the licenses for all the Stream Classic users to eliminate their ability to access it. So that's option number 1. The next one is you archive and you selectively migrate videos. This use case is for organizations with any number of users and would like content to age out and to only migrate content if the owners deem it necessary. Thus, old content will be left in Stream Classic and new content will be in SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, and Yammer. So the steps in this process also begins with training for your users on Stream and SharePoint so that they know how it works. This time you set up a process and timeline for your users to request videos for specific groups, channels, or users to be migrated. Then that's followed by communicating to the users that files are being migrated and that uploads are being blocked. And this communication, again, can happen right in Stream Classic. You then need to actually block the uploads and not allow any files to be added to Stream Classic. At that point, you would send your users to the new Stream homepage and the new Stream start page, and they can click on the Stream Classic page when they, if they need to, by clicking at the link on the top right, which pretty much everybody should be seeing right now. And then you selectively migrate only videos for the different groups, channels, and users as they're requested. When you reach the end of the timeline for requests, you remove the licenses for everybody again and eliminate their ability to access it. The final one is to migrate videos using a slow and very deliberate process. And in this use case, it's usually for organizations with a large number of dedicated users on Stream Classic. And it's the least aggressive approach in theory, but Microsoft's timeline's pretty aggressive right now, so it's not very likely it's going to feel like it's slow. And again, you're going to start out with training your users. You're going to run a Stream Classic inventory report so that you can better understand what content is in Stream Classic, who has active content, which internal stakeholders you need to reach out to. And you're going to follow that up with communication to the users that their files are being migrated and that uploads are being blocked. And again, that can happen right in Stream Classic if you want to have it there only, but you probably should be emailing or putting things out in Viva Engage and letting folks know. You're going to set up a process and a timeline for how you're going to migrate the content. And then you'll need to actually block the uploads and not allow any files to be added to Stream Classic. And then send your users to the Stream Start page on Microsoft 365 instead of the Stream Classic page when they click on the Stream app icon. Follow your process and your timeline for how you'll migrate videos for the different groups, channels, and users. And when you've migrated all of your content, you're going to remove those licenses again to eliminate their ability to access it. And don't hesitate to be creative. You may find that in your organization, you need to take bits and pieces of these three approaches and come up with the best approach for your users and their content. And if the amount of content is actually small enough, you can just have the users migrate their own content manually. You don't have to use the migration tool to do it. Ideally, if you want to use this migration as an opportunity to clean house, like you do with any other data or any other file migration, it's perfect for that. In this case, you would train your users on how the new Stream app works and how to determine where to put their videos. Do they use them with a group of users who they have a team in Microsoft Teams with? Do they share them now using a Stream web part on the intranet? Do they share an embed link in Viva Engage? This will help help them know where they need to move their files to. And then you have them download their files and upload them into the new location. Then you have them go back and delete the files after they are making sure that it's working where they've put the files. And you immediately get rid of the reference to Stream. And by doing that, you can then run another inventory report and make sure that everything is gone. I can tell you that I've been doing that with a client that I work with, and it's worked out great. I went in there thinking we were going to have to do a huge migration, and we got in there, and all of you will probably remember that a little over 2 years ago, it's pushing 3 years ago now, Microsoft changed where we save meeting recordings, because we used to, all of our meeting recordings automatically went into Stream Classic. And then they said, oh no, we're moving to the modern Stream. And they started saving them to OneDrive and SharePoint. So everybody's really been using the new Stream without realizing it for a couple of years now. And so all we're doing is pulling it over for everything else. But what it means is when you go and you pull a content inventory report, you're going to see a lot of videos that are those old meeting recordings that no one's looking at, that are sitting in the stream portal from before things got moved to where they're going to OneDrive and SharePoint. So you want to think about that. The client that I'm working with, it turned out, although they have thousands of users, when we took and pulled a report and looked at when was the last time somebody looked at a video, when was the last time the video was edited or modified, we ended up with, even though there were thousands of users and there were over 40,000 videos in their in-stream Classic, I think we might have had 200 videos that needed to be moved. And out of those, most of them went to intranet sites. So the users just downloaded them, put them into their intranet site where they already were content owners, already knew how to use SharePoint. I just had to train them on how the new stream worked in SharePoint, because the new stream app does have some cool features, but I'm not here to show you and talk to you about those tonight. Other than I will mention that the playlist does exist already. It just is only in its first version. Christine, yes, the answer is yes, we do offer that as a service. Because like I said, I'm helping out one of my clients right now and do that. So anyway, let's go back. Let's keep going here. So let's talk about the order of operations. So I kept talking about the first thing you need to do is you need to do training. So we're going to assume that you've already sent a message on this. You've set the message on the Stream Admin Center to let your users know that Stream Classic, that there's a deadline and they're going to no longer be able to use it. And if not, if you haven't done that, or you haven't extended it already, that's cute, Christine. I'm sure you aren't looking forward to it. Depending on your situation, it might not be fun. So anyway, if you have not gone into the Stream Admin Center, or if your Stream Administrator has not gone in and they did not extend it, then like we talked earlier, you've already been cut off from being able to upload videos to Stream, because the cutoff date that Microsoft put in there was May 15th. However, I will let you know that the Stream Administrator can still, after the fact, go in and change that date to be as late as August 15th. But that's the last possible date as of right now, unless the product team decides to extend it because of the migration tool issues for the new version coming out. So if you go to the content creation admin page, you can also restrict anyone from creating new company-wide channels, and that's advised in order to allow to remove any additional complications to this process. Now you'll want to keep the Microsoft step-by-step guide handy while you're working through the migration process. It'll become your Bible for process and steps, no matter which migration method you use. So I wanted to make sure that was here and handy for you with the takeaway with the slide deck. What you're going to do is you're going to run that Stream Classic video report, because it contains 100% of the videos in your Stream Classic portal. It'll show you names, containers, number of views, last viewed date, in addition to the metadata that you would expect to find, like the owner, created by, last modified. You'll definitely be evaluating what's in there based on last date viewed and whether or not there's a date there. Microsoft only started tracking this in July of 2021. So if that field's empty when you run this report, it's because the video has not been watched in almost 2 years. And like I said, keep in mind, 3 years ago, or almost 3 years ago, is when meeting recordings used to be stored in Classic. So it's really likely that you have a lot of stale meeting recordings in there that you don't need anymore, unless your organization has some kind of a compliance requirement, which couldn't be enforced in Stream Classic anyway. So the report will also show you videos that have not been published and that were created or owned by people who've left the organization, so that you can identify those orphan videos as well. Now, to get a fast overview visually of what you're dealing with, you can download the Power BI template that Microsoft provides. And this report will give you a visual representation of what's there and what can and can't be migrated. You'll immediately notice it does not match the inventory report. And that's because this report is looking at the content types and statuses to determine what containers and the migration tool will be able to migrate. So if you have containers, but the videos in it have not been published, those are not going to show up in the Power BI template. It will show you that there are X number of videos that are not eligible for migration, but the numbers in here are never going to match up with the full inventory report. So don't be surprised when you see that. But it does give you a good idea because, like, for example, looking at this summary here, I can see that I've got 3,943 containers and I've got 26,000, almost 27,000 videos. So I'm still under that 40,000 threshold. And I can see how many total gigabytes need to be are eligible to be migrated and the total number of views that are recorded so far. I can, like any Power BI report, I can drill down into this and I can get further, and there are some other views in it as well. Now, there are a lot of questions to ask yourself about content to determine what your plan is and whether or not your videos fall into any of the gotchas I've mentioned. Oh, and there is another gotcha that I forgot to put in the original list, and that's that any video files that are 15 gigabytes or larger are going to have to be migrated manually because the migration tool can't handle them. So that's another reason you need to get the content inventory report in order to be able to find those really long videos that are large in size, because you're going to have to do those manually. Are there any features that don't work when migrating from Classic to SharePoint? Naveen, do you mean any features in the migration manager, the report in Power BI, or are you talking about the actual features within Stream itself, like using Stream in SharePoint to view the videos versus what you could do with Stream Classic? You'll have to answer me on that one. Features in Classic Stream. There are some that do not match up in Classic Stream. The biggest one that I know of that there currently is no intent to replace is in Stream Classic. It's not really in Stream Classic. It's in Microsoft Forms. If you create a Microsoft form, there is the ability to embed a video into it. And I know I've run into a number of folks who what they've done is they'll put a video into a Microsoft form and it will be watch the video and then take the test. And you can't do that anymore. However, if you're used to using SharePoint, what I've trained those folks to do is to create it, instead of sending people to a Microsoft form, send them to a SharePoint page, and you put the video in the page, and below it you embed the form, because you can do that. There is a Microsoft Forms web part. By doing that, you use the file in media web part to put the video in, and you use the Microsoft Form web part to put the form in, and you're just sending them a different link. Instead of the link going to Forms, you send them to SharePoint to a page, and they're all set. If it's a group of folks that are in a team, then you can use the team site to do that. That's behind your team in Microsoft Teams. So it works out really well. The playlist is a little bit different, and it's also very immature. And if you want to, at the end, if we have some time, I can actually do a demo and show you how that works, because I have a whole demo on where I've set up a video portal in SharePoint that I've demoed, and I could go through all of those things, like the difference in the features and how they work. But yeah, there are a couple of them that are not so great. The other big one is trimming. Right now, I know one of the biggest features and the things that even I miss is being able to trim a video. If I upload a video or I create a video, I can trim a video in Stream Classic. In Stream, in the new modern Stream, If you create a video in Stream, it is possible to trim it right now. So that I think came out a little earlier than they had planned. But if you're uploading a video, you're not going to be able to do that at this time. Microsoft's recommendation is that you use a tool that they purchased back in December, which is called Clipchamp. The only problem with that is that, and it may not be a problem, depends on your organization and your organization's rules. You have to download that from the Microsoft Store using a individual Microsoft account. It's not a part of the enterprise license yet. They're working on it. But it's not there yet, and it probably will be closer to the end of the year before they make that work, although there's a lot of pressure to do it. So I know they're working really hard on trying to do that. Also, a future feature on the timeline for Stream itself is not only to be able to trim. They're not actually going to trim the file. What they want to do within Stream is they're going to use a hide function where you can equivalently take and trim the ends by hiding the ends, but it'll also let you hide other pieces inside the middle of the video. So they're working on that as well. Timeline, we'll see what happens. I have a feeling the way it's sounding right now from the product team that they're both going to come out about the same time. So you'll be able to take your pick. Clipchamp has some extra features, but if you haven't used Stream on Microsoft 365 recently to create a video, you might be surprised at what's there. There's a lot of really cool things you can do now with it, and they've got more that they're going to add in the future. Okay, Steve says he uses Clipchamp, and it is free. You should be able to use it. So what happens is when you create something in Clipchamp, you end up having to export it. And then once you export it, I usually export it so I get an MP4 file. Then I just upload it into SharePoint like I would any other video file, and it works exactly the same. And then it works just fine after you're done. So hopefully that helps. All right. The components. Okay, well, I'm not sure which components you're talking about. Maybe you're talking about the things where you do edits and add things to it. I've mostly used Clipchamp strictly to trim, and that's it. I haven't used it with any of the other features. If I want other things done, then I use a different tool right now. Yep, sound and pictures. Yeah, if you're creating a video and it's less than 15 minutes, just like Stream Classic, you can do it in Modern Stream and it works fantastic. And there's lots of extra features that we didn't have before. All right, so back to evaluating your inventory. So this is like I was saying with the client that I'm working with recently. We went in there, we saw they don't have a compliance rule that says you must keep everything. Therefore, we looked to see how soon had people, or when was the last time somebody looked at a video. And so we filtered out anything where there was no number in the last viewed, because it meant that it's been at least 2 years since someone looked at it. And that brought it down significantly. Then we took and we filtered again on when was that video last viewed. And we took and went to within the last 12 months. And then we knocked it down to the last 6 months because 12 months was kind of iffy. We looked to see who owned those videos and were they in a group, were they in a channel, were they individually shared, how were they set up as a container wise in Stream Classic. And like I said, there couldn't have been more than 150 videos, maybe 200, but I don't think so. And it was all spread out. The most, I will say, there was one person who had 120 videos. And when I talked to her, it turned out she went through and reviewed them and she got rid of all but 40. And that took a long time to download and then re-upload. So I did use a migration tool to move hers for her into OneDrive. And that way she wanted to put them in her SharePoint site and she just moved them by, select all, move, send it to the site, done. And so it went really, really easily. But so I say that was several thousand users, and we ended up with about 200 videos that needed to be migrated. And so we just asked the users to do it. We didn't even, like I said, I had to use the migration tool for one person, and that was it. So hopefully a lot of you will be in that situation. I do know of someone who I spoke to 6 months ago, and they had over 100,000 videos that had to be migrated. And that would be a whole different animal. So once you've evaluated it, you're going to decide how are you going to do it. Do you have a small number of users? Maybe you'll do it manually, or do you have a large number of users, large number of videos, small number of videos? Do you need to use the migration tool? That's when you're going to decide how you're going to do it. You're going to disable uploads to Stream Classic at a designated date that you want to make sure you communicate to people on. That way they won't be adding more content while you're trying to do migrations. Do a test migration. You can take and pick 1 or 2 containers. It could be a user. You could have a test user that you've got some videos in there and you're going to take and migrate it just so that you can get used to how the tool works and how it displays. And also figure out if you're going to need to use the mapping file. They do provide you with a CSV mapping file so that if you need to, you can map where you want the videos to go. That gets a little bit more complicated. You'll have to use the content inventory report because you've got to have the user ID, or I'm sorry, the video ID, in order to then be able to map it to the site that you want to send it to. It's going to get a little bit easier with the updates that they're planning for the current migration tool. When that update happens, you're going to be able to filter on the containers. You're going to be able, like I said, you're going to be able to grab orphaned files and take and pick up all of them and move them if you need to. You're going to be able to filter in your containers and pick out part of the videos where you could say, I'm going to filter on the date, or I'm going to filter on when it was published, and then only move these videos, which we cannot do right now today. Today, you can certainly migrate, but then you have to remember that the redirects are not all working correctly. Once you migrate them, what they were doing before the last update is you wouldn't see them. It was as if you had deleted them from Stream Classic. They were hidden. Right now they're not, so they're showing up in both places and the redirects aren't working. So it's not a great situation for folks who've been migrating the last month or so. You're going to want to run migration batches, just like any other migrations you may have done to Microsoft 365. You can expect that Microsoft is going to throttle it. Right now, the estimated amount of content from testing shows that you can expect to migrate 1.5 to 2 terabytes a day at current transfer speeds. And again, just a reminder that if you have any files that are 15 gigs or larger, those you're going to have to do manually. All right, so let's talk about what happens when you're finishing up. When you're finishing up, hopefully you can see this okay. There is an option here in your Stream admin settings that you can disable Stream. I'm done with my migration. It's going to remove everybody's access to Stream Classic when you do that. So you want to wait to the very end of your migration to do that. But it's real easy. Just click that and then save. All right, why is my screen not switching? There we go. All right. So here are some help resources for Stream migration. You're going to want to, if you're interested, the Stream product team does a call every 2 weeks, and you can sign up for that at aka.ms/streamconnect. They also have the roadmap posted at Stream Roadmap, and then Stream Forums. You can ask questions there. You can vote on ideas for new features for Stream that you want to be able to see in the new one. And then there's all the information about doing a migration is at the Stream migration. And then there are also FAQs, and they send you to FAQs a lot. So if you have a question, that's the first place to look. All right, do we have any more questions? Let's see if I missed some, probably. Yes, Andrea, there, whether you were in classic stream or you're in the new modern stream, both of them, it's still, if you're creating a video, it's still a 15-minute limit. That's the most that you can do. So if you need a longer one, then you're going to need a different tool. Clipchamp will let you do 30 minutes for free without paying for a license. I don't know what it'll do once it gets integrated into the enterprise license system. We'll see what they give us then, because there are some advanced features that they'll probably make you pay for if you want them. You know, we have to have everything at regular and then a premium version. Are there any other questions? Because I can go in and I can stop sharing this and we could go in and look at some things. How much time do I have, Dimitri?
But you can have up to like another 15 minutes if you'd like.
Okay. All right, then I will take a few minutes. So from the group that's online or in the room, let me know what you would rather see. Would you rather see some what's going on with in the migration tool itself, or would you like me to go over some of the features in Stream, in the new modern Stream?
I don't know, we have a few of those for our new modern stream in the conference room here.
Playlist.
Playlist. Okay, I can do that. Let's see, we got it. Here I am. Let me go to my, I am in my demo tenant.
Here, there were a few more questions in the chat as well.
Oh, okay. Let me see if we can get those up here so that I can grab those. What else did I miss? All right. Oh, update to the Stream tab in Teams. Well, you know, I think, let me see if I can show you that today also what you do. There is, so I'm not, so a Stream tab in Teams is not going to work, of course, because it's got the classic web part to it. However, there are some cool things that you can do in Teams. So I will get Teams up here in just a moment too. And I can show you that as well. So when you're in Teams, you can actually automatically create a video page that pulls in all of the videos that are in your team that are stored there in any document library that's in your team site. Oh, so let's see, let me start here. All right, so if I want to create instead of using Stream, if I want to, what I can do is I can look for SharePoint pages. If it didn't come up, if you just search for SharePoint pages will be one of the options. So when you click on SharePoint pages, even though I have no video page created, let's see if it's going to give you an option to create a video page. You can see here it says videos. So I'm going to go ahead and click on videos and I'm going to hit save. I don't know if I have any videos in here or not. I may not. No, I don't, but I can show you what it did. So what it did is it just created a video page for me. I can edit it just like any other SharePoint page right away. So I can put a header in here if I want to. It's using highlighted content, and you'll see when we go in there, it's configuring it to look at the documents library and look for videos. But I can change this. I can go into the site collection. I can pick a different library if I want. I can pick the pages library. I can go for sites, just like anything else in highlighted content. So I can have it pull in all of the videos in Teams. I think maybe I have that in another one. Then once it's published, or well, actually, even if I didn't publish it, if I didn't make any changes to it, it usually takes a minute or two. If you go into the site pages library, you'll then see this videos page and you can edit it just like any other page also from the SharePoint side. Let's see if I have one in here. I don't know if I made one. Ah, I did. Here we go. This is where I did another one. And this I did the exact same way, and I didn't have any videos in here either, of course. That figures. I have videos in the video portal site. All right, let me see what other things we had in here. But anyway, you can, when you do that, when you go through that process in a team of adding the SharePoint pages, you select videos, it automatically generates a new page that is in your team, just like you have here. It's just a tab, and it will bring up all of the videos that are in your site, in your document library. And if you decide to put videos in a different place, then if you take and you tell it where it is, it'll look for them there. Let's see, what else do we have here that I missed? Talked about the 15-minute limit. Clipchamp we covered. Features that don't work, we talked about that. There's not too many that don't work. Did I miss anything else? Yeah, that. Nope, I think, okay, if I missed something, you might have to either unmute and ask or put it in the chat again, but I think I hit everything. And I had let's see, you asked about the playlist. So let's go look at the playlist. So this is my video portal that I created. And there are instructions at aka.ms/stream portal, or actually it's portals, I think it's plural, that will tell you how to build this out. And I did it that way just to see what it was like. And what I did basically was create a hub site. So Contoso TV is a hub site, and I have channel sites that I'm linking to from the hub site navigation, but I can just go to my channels page and I can see that I have 6 sites that I'm going to have different content in. So let me go to my training page here. I don't know that I have one here. All right, so if I want to create a playlist, playlists are a little wonky right now. They're very immature. They do not operate the way I would want them to. So let's go look at site contents and where my videos are stored right now. So I have videos here in a documents library. I already have one playlist set up. Instead of it being a view on the library where the videos are, what you're literally doing is you're creating a new list. So to create a playlist, you have to create a new list. And what they're giving you, and you're going to go down here, they're giving you a template in the list, and you'll see playlist here for arranging a set of videos. So I can select a playlist. It says, yep, this is what I want it to look like. I'm going to use that template. And let's see, I'm just going to call it video playlist this time. Go ahead and show it in the navigation, create that list. And I go, oh, okay, great. I'm going to add a new item to the list. Now, before I do that, I'm going to tell you ahead of time, this is a bare bones minimum viable product. They got it out because people were saying, I need a playlist, I need a playlist, I need a playlist, but I'm not sure they thought it through all the way. So they made literally a list. And you need to right now know what the order of the videos are that you want to put in there, because it will not let you reorder them once you put them in. You'll have to delete them and then re-put it in the order that you want. So you need to know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever, put the last one in first. So if I go and I come in here, it's going to let me pick. It's going to automatically show me the videos that are in this library. And I can, if I want to, I can go look for them somewhere else. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to have, let's see. I guess I will have Clipchamp last. And then if I want to add another one, the next one's going to go above it. I'll put link fixer above it. And we'll put in SharePoint Essential. So they're in the same order they are in my library. All right, so now I have a playlist. As I go through it, it's going to play on the right side of the screen, just like you would expect it to do. There we go. Now we can see that it's a view. If I do all items, then it looks just like a list, like I would expect it to. But if I take and even if I add a column to reorder it, when I put it into playlist, it's still only going to look like what I originally put it in the order I look at it. So at this point, if I want to be able to access this, I've got to access this view this way. And of course, it's got a really ugly URL. But when I created the list, remember I said, go ahead and add it to navigation so I can see the link right up here. So right now, that's the only way you can do it. If I want to send people to my video playlist, I would love to be able to put it right on my homepage. Yeah, I don't have a way to do that. The only thing I can do is link to it, and I can link to it, and it will take them to this view on the page, and that's it. There is an update to this coming out. What we were told today was that it is in dog food right now with Microsoft in their dog food environment. So it's going to be probably a couple of months. But what they showed us in the dog food environment, you were able to use metadata. You were able to reorder these. And more importantly, you were able to go to your homepage or whatever page you wanted to, and you were going to be able to add a list web part and pull it in, and it will display properly on the page. So a better version of it's coming, but right now it's really basic. Yeah, and no, David, you can't sort like that. I mean, we can go and try it, but I've tried it already multiple times and it doesn't work. That was the first thing I did. I said, oh, well, if I put some metadata on here and I tell it to organize it, yeah, no, it doesn't do that because the view is some kind of a custom view on it. Is there anything else special anybody wants to see? Because I can go through all kinds of things. It's just whatever you're interested in learning about. Not seeing anything real quick here. New stream home. Sure thing. Let's do it. All right. So when you go to the new stream home, it's just like going to office.com's home. So when you come here, what you are seeing in this page is you are seeing all of the video files, just video files that are available to you throughout the entire Microsoft ecosystem for your tenant, for your organization. When I come here, I can see recommended. This is, AI trying to pick and tell me what I need to look at, but it's anything that I have access to, whether it's in my OneDrive account, someone else's OneDrive that they shared with me, on a site on our intranet that I have access to. It's pulling all of that in, and I can then look down here and see the whole list of them. I can see the ones that I recently opened. I can filter on things that were shared with me or that I shared with someone else. If I've marked something as a favorite, which I can do, I believe I can do that right here. Yep, I can mark it as a favorite. And Clippy is certainly one of my favorites. Then when I go to favorites, that's what's going to show up, or I can go back to all of them. Now up here, we just looked at a playlist. That'll let you make a playlist. Notice it opens in a new window. It's using Microsoft Lists, which is the same thing as a SharePoint list, of course. And I can go and I can start it, and it'll work exactly the same as what I just demoed. It'll just be stored in your OneDrive account, and you can share it out. If I want to upload, I can upload a video. I don't know if I have anything that's, I forget what I had that was really short. I did have some that were really short here. Yeah, I don't see it real quick. But what I do is if I upload a video here, it will give me a choice. It will by default, it will put it in my OneDrive account, but it should take and also offer up the ability to put it into a SharePoint site or a team site that you have access to. David, it is with one caveat to it. if people are having trouble finding videos, if they've been migrated, the migrated videos are not showing up in the stream home here yet. That was one of the other things that everybody was complaining about. We're all going, hey, you know, we're migrating these videos in. People want to find them. They need to be able to find them here. And the indexing is not pulling those in at this time. Hopefully they will soon, but they are not at this time. Andrea, that's a really good question. I do not know that you can push a playlist to someone's home. Creating a playlist or having a playlist, you can share the link with them. I don't know. I do not know. It should come up under shared, but I won't swear to it. I'd have to test that. I'm not sure. All right, so let's see. We want users to review their videos in Stream Classic to decide which ones they want migrated. Is there an efficient way to do that? There you go to My Content. Yes. Let's see, this account, I don't have any in here. Let me see if Adele, I believe Adele has some. Yeah, Adele has some. So if I want to send them, I send them to the homepage. I send them to My Content, and I tell them to look at videos. And this will list their videos. Now, the other thing that I sometimes do with them also, though, is I have them go look and see if there are any groups. Especially if I don't know if they own any groups, because if they're group owners, then there may be videos, and I tell them to look, and I go, oh, here, I can see that I have 3 videos here in the drinks group, and then they can come here and they will see what those videos are that are in this group, and they can look at the videos and it'll list them out. So I have 3 of them here. Otherwise, My Content, have them check channels as well. If they've created a channel, the channel's not associated with a group. You have to manually choose using the CSV file that's available to say where you want this to go, because otherwise it's going to go into the person's OneDrive account. It's not going to go into a new channel. Let's see. So yes, that's what I was doing. I was going through, I'd have them pull up my content, look at videos. I'd have them look at groups and channels to make sure there wasn't something else they wanted to see. If you have meeting recordings, which I don't have in this tenant, then meeting recordings are another content type, and they could look at those to see if there are any of those that they want to save. When you print out when you create the inventory report, it's just a big Excel CSV file. So you're going to have an Excel spreadsheet. You could filter on it and give them their list of videos so that they know what they have also. Another thing that you can do as an admin, if I'm in here with an admin account, if I'm in Stream Classic, and I go in here, this should work. There won't be very many, but in the admin settings section at the bottom, there is manage user data. And if you go there, yes, I have not run any reports. You can look a person up. So if I look up Alex here and I say get a report, it will automatically create a report, and I can export it. And I can open it right here, and it will actually tell me how many videos, channels he has. It will show me a list of the videos that belong to him. Now, if he had channels that he owned, which he does have some, but he doesn't have any groups, it's still going to show me that. So I know he's got 3 videos in a channel, but they're not associated with a group. Although he has a group called Drinks, so I know he's an owner on that. I can also look here and see that he's a contributor on other ones, but that doesn't mean anything because he doesn't have any ownership there. And there are lots of other things here. So you can look and see if there are groups, if so, which ones they are and where should they go, as well as what their list of videos are. And it's got links to them. You can always use that as well. When you migrate, does it? No, the transcript does not come over. What you do then, once you upload the video or once it's been migrated, the first time you go in, you can tell it to generate a transcript, and it will generate a new transcript. Let's see. Did I miss any? All right. I think that's all of those. I have a feeling I used up my 15 minutes, right?
You're in good shape, Karen.
Because I could talk for another half hour, an hour answering questions, I'm sure, or just spend time going through the features that are available. So I want to make sure you all get what you need or what you want.
Does anyone have any closing questions for Karen? All right, well, let's give a round of applause for Karen.
Thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me.
So moving on to a few closing slides before we call it a night. So wanted to just highlight a few of our upcoming sessions. So in July, we're going to be talking about using OpenAI inside of Power Virtual Agents. So we'll be meeting at this location. August, we're taking a break from having an educational session, but we are coordinating with a potential sponsor to do just a social gathering for drinks and appetizers. So we'll send out more information once that's well known. Rachel's going to be talking to us about decision fatigue and user experience in September. And we have a call for speakers for October and November. So if there's anyone that wants to come share a case study, talk a little bit about a project that they've recently completed or doing a deep dive like Karen did today, more than welcome to. And I think on the next slide, we actually have a QR code that you can scan that will take you to our speaker submission form. All right, so in terms of other upcoming community events, so we have a lot of Microsoft partners that are part of our user group, and the Inspire conference will be held virtually next month. It's a free event as long as you're a registered partner, so definitely check that out if you're in that bucket. SP Fest, which was rebranded to 365 EduCon, is going to be taking place in August in Seattle. And as a member of the user group, there is a code to get 15% off. If anyone's interested in heading out there, it's a good conference. It's going to be the Power Platform Conference in October in Vegas. I'm going to be at that one. Collab Days, the former SharePoint Saturday, is going to be in this building actually in October. It's a free Saturday event. There is an open call for speakers there that closes at the end of this month. And I think registration to attend will open up shortly after that. So make sure to check that out. And then a couple more conferences happening later this year that we'll talk more about as time gets closer. Are we missing anything? Are there any other events happening locally or virtually? Anyone wants to shout out? We'll keep moving forward. So there are a number of ongoing PNP calls. If any of these interest you, definitely check out pnp.github.io. And there's quite a few different calls and groups that you can plug into. I know Karen mentioned there's one from the stream team as well. So definitely check that out. We are in New England, and there's a lot of other related user groups in the area. There's one in Rhode Island, there's one in New Hampshire. There's a few in the Boston area regarding Azure. So if you have more interest in relevant information, definitely check them out. All right, so we'll open up the floor here. Just in case anyone has any problems with anything and everything related to M365, or if someone solved a really absurd problem that they'd like to share, that's also welcome. So I'll pause here for a second. Does anyone have any problems or wants to ask the group here anything about M365? We have a question in the back.
How do we get the slide deck for today?
Great question, Karen. We have a question about how we can get a copy of the slide deck for today.
I am looking to see if I can share it with you guys from my OneDrive or not, but I certainly can. You tell me where I can post it for you, and I'm happy to do that.
Karen, if you want to email it to me, I can send it out to everyone that's registered for today's session.
Oh, that would be great. I'll be happy to do that.
Great. That'll work.
Awesome, thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions here. Go ahead.
So just in general, like the M365 Copilot, and Microsoft Fabric Copilot features. Does anyone here got the early access or private preview?
So Microsoft is doing a private preview right now
Yeah.
for a small number of clients that are paying for it. So beyond that, there's no information on when it's going to be open for a public preview.
Yeah. Does anyone here have that get into that group?
We might. I know that my company is working with Microsoft and they're looking at embedding that stuff in. I don't know how wide I'm not actually in the IT world. I'm in a kind of a business role kind of thing with SharePoint. I'm not sure what that rollout's going to be for everybody internally, but theoretically we're going to have it.
So the private previews are under tight NDAs. So even if Rachel was part of the preview program, she wouldn't.
That means I won't be part of it. They don't trust me.
What a great question, yeah. So I think so Microsoft has a big Ignite conference this fall.
Yeah.
And we expect that they'll release a lot more timelines and details around when it might be available broadly.
That's no member.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't expect any kind of major announcements before then.
Okay. Yeah, the next question is specifically for this. I know there's like the SharePoint world, a lot of stuff is going to get retired and a lot of new stuff is just come here and substitute the old ones. For the migration tools, does it have like a Copilot around it?
Specifically for the stream migration tool?
Not just in general.
Is there a Copilot for a migration tool? I haven't heard of any. Yeah, I mean migrations, the thing with Copilots, anytime that you're using like a large language model or generative AI, you're not guaranteed to get the right answer, but you're guaranteed to get any answer that seems plausible. And then it's up to you to decide if it's good enough for you or if this is something that is wrong, right? When you're looking at migration projects, there's really not a lot of room for error. Right? You're going to lose data if you don't do it right, or you're going to give someone access to something that they shouldn't have access to. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's not much new generative AI tied into migration projects.
Yeah, thank you for your answer.
Okay, so we'll keep moving forward here. So thanks again to our platinum sponsor. And also thank you to all of our past sponsors. These companies have all sponsored our user group over the last, Bill, how's long? Have we crossed the 9-year mark or 10-year mark this year? Time flies, but these companies have all supported us throughout the year. So